communities and international ecosystem at Headstart Network Foundation, India's largest volunteer-driven community which supports startups at the grassroots level. So we are celebrating the 15th year of Headstart through Startup September. So we call this as the Festival of the Startup Ecosystem. And you must be wondering, why am I referring it as a festival? It's because we are hosting around 100 startup events, both online and offline, in around 30 plus cities in India. And also, we have participation from international startup ecosystem like Finland, Germany, Spain, Korea, Russia. In fact, we had a session with them just yesterday. So yes, I think a celebration at this scale definitely reflects the spirit of festivities. And here we are on the 13th day of Startup September, hosting our 28th event. So it's been a blast and we're not even halfway there. So there's a lot more in store, and I hope you guys stick around till the end and wait for some exciting sessions curated just for you guys, right? So today's topic is definitely extremely close to all of our hearts. I'm sure if you have taken the interest to sign up and to show up, definitely the community must be at the heart of what you do, and it's the same with Headstart. So we've been building communities, we've been serving the community, doing everything for the community for the past 15 years. And it was about time, we thought of, initiating something to enable the next set of community builders to take the startup ecosystem forward. And community is the best way to go about it. So, with that, I will take a minute to announce something really special in midst of these experts, for sure. So, we are coming up with a cohort-based course for startup, for community builders. And I'll quickly share the poster for you guys. It's called Zero to Community, and we have some great experts on board to take these sessions for you guys. It's going to be live, it's going to be hands-on. We have mentors on board to take you through each and every lessons and help you through your assignments, and it's open only for 12 to 15 people at the moment, and you could apply from the link that's mentioned in the screen. A separate email also will be sent to you guys. So yes, look forward to seeing you in the cohort. And with that, let me begin with today's session, where we are going to be talking about the role of community builders in the startup ecosystem. And I think we couldn't have had a better panel to start that. So let me quickly introduce you all to our panelists today. First off, we have Neha Agarwal, who is a community builder at Quora, building a strong and vast community for vernacular languages. Prior to Quora, she has helped organizations like Baby Chakra with building thriving communities. She's also passionate about sharing knowledge about community building, and hence, her name pops up in LinkedIn, comment sections or her posts alone. It's like gold for anyone looking to start off as a community builder. So welcome, Neha, and glad to have you on board.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for inviting me, Gautam and Aarzoo and Headstart Network, and such a pleasure to share the panel with Sourabh and Nipun. Looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you, Neha. So next up, we have Nipun Goyal. Nipun is a serial entrepreneur and a firm believer in the power of communities. He's passionate about enabling community-led growth for businesses. Currently, he's the founder and CEO of LikeMinds, a simple plug-and-play, highly customizable community infra platform that helps brands build in-app communities in just 15 minutes. Prior to LikeMinds, he has built and sold his previous startup, which again had community at its heart. So very excited to have you with us today, Nipun. Welcome to the session.
Thanks, Aarzoo. Always glad to be around community builders. I do this almost every week. Good to be on the other side
Yeah. It's our pleasure, definitely. And last but not the least, we have Sourabh Goyal, founder of Success Brew and also a coach and community builder, building the Goalchy Club, a space of enrichment for people of all age groups. Sourabh is a prime example of how to grow as a creator and build an authentic community along the way. When it comes to growth hacking, he has done some fabulous job, written a book, helped multiple organizations achieve their targets. So I'm equally excited to have you here, Saurabh.
Thank you so much, Aarzoo. And did you notice हम 3 बनियों के इकट्ठा कर लिया तुमने?
I think it's a hint that maybe we build better communities.
Correct. So ये community इकट्ठी होगी सबसे पहले तो ना?
Correct. Oh yeah. So it shows how community is, all you talk about.
Yes.
All right. Great. Now that we're done with the introductions, let's dive deep into the topic, which is community and community builders. Maybe we could start off with your journey when you started off as community builder. Neha, Sourabh, I think you both come from a different background. Neha from an HR background, as far as I read about you, and Sourabh from a sales background and tried his hands on various things. And I think Nipun has kind of been into the community from the start. But, at what point did you guys realize that I am building a community or, this is a profession? At what point did you start realizing there's potential in what I'm doing? What were your early days like? Maybe we could start off with Neha and then Nipun and Saurabh can pitch in.
One thing that I can definitely say that community building is for everyone, right? Like, look at me. I come from HR. Saurabh comes from sales. And I think, sorry?
I come from mechanical engineering.
Oh my God. Yeah. So see, right? And I can give you examples of my Quora team, right? I have somebody who's been a journalist in his profession who's now doing community building, right? So I think it is, we as human beings are social beings. And I think if we're able to kind of really tap into that power of the community, I think anybody can do community building. But then just a little bit about me, I stumbled upon community building. I think my generation, I don't know if I can call myself a generation, but then is the perhaps the last set of generation that kind of stumbled upon or community building happened by accident to them, because thankfully and so encouraging to know that community building is now becoming an established career opportunity, right? So I have colleges and universities also beginning to reach out to me to come and talk to their students about community building as a career, as a potential career, which is so encouraging. But mine happened by accident. When I was with Bloomberg, I was leading their APAC region from an HR business partnering perspective. And I was like, okay, I think I want to kind of do something different. I had done HR for about 10 years. And I took a break to think about how, what is it that I want to do next. And Baby Chakra pretty much happened by accident, out of curiosity, sheer curiosity. I did not know they were hiring for a community head of community, or I didn't even know what they were doing. But I think I just got curious and I reached out to them and I just spoke to them and I told them that I want to know more. And that's how I landed my first gig as a community builder. So, the tip or a lesson hidden there is that reach out, do not shy away from talking to people and showing genuine curiosity. And that's when I realized that, oh my God, there were several reasons why I started doing this. I will not get into that, but I think just a tip, and I know that networking is not for everyone. You may not feel comfortable reaching out to somebody directly, but there are different ways of doing networking, right? We can, that's a different topic of discussion, but yes, that's how community building happened to me. And then, I was very fortunate enough to work with Naya and team, building this really amazing community. I think a very business focused community. Thanks to Naya, I think she drove the organization with an extremely strong and clear vision, and I think I got to learn a lot from her. And then Quora happened, and I think bang from a niche community to building a community at scale, and a very unique community which is vernacular languages, has been quite a journey for me. So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey about community building.
I think I like how you mentioned, community happened to you accidentally. I think that's what happened with all of us. Little to no knowledge available about community, at least in India. People kind of figured out what community was along the way. Okay, I'm building a community. Earlier, I was doing events. Now I'm doing community engagement activities. I think that's pretty much been the...
How it sums up.
Yes. Sourabh, why don't you go next?
So I think community building is not new as such. It comes from a very core of being a human being, actually, right? And if I see any from a religious perspective, there is a Punjabi community, there is a Banya community, there is a Marwadi community. So wo hai wahan pe, right? Okay. The use case changing now only, right? So now the way industries are growing. So after mechanical engineering, I took a leap in sales because I understood that long term में अगर कुछ उखाड़ना है life में बेचना सीखना पड़ेगा. That is the most important part, right? Okay. And being a salesman is something, एक engineer, like mechanical engineer may not talk to a software engineer. They may not be good friends, but at both sides, if they are sales people, they will talk. Because the sales is not important about the product. They can learn any product and they can sell. So we used to go for a lot of sales conferences outside India, inside India, right? Like nowadays we have big events. Sales training itself is a big event and a community, right? So wahan se I understood one thing, that one of the biggest and the most important part of a community is about the support system, right? You have a problem, you go and tell the community I have this problem, you will find 30 people more who will say, okay, we also had the same problem. It's a simple thing, okay? And it is not new. So you feel less miserable now. That's the first thing about the good thing about a community, right? Okay, you get 10 people who will say, okay, we have felt the same thing. It's okay. It's a path. You will go through it. And then 2018, I left everything behind. I said, okay, what new next? So I'm a curious soul. I need to know something and do something new every year, at least, right? So I keep adding new things to my life. And Success Brew has been, it's like 1 year for Success Brew now on this 16th of September. And my mind is already like, okay, what next? Right. So I started this goal setting and strategic planning workshop. It's a simple workshop, a 7 days cohort-based program that I started in 2018. We have done 34 batches. And in my time of training, when I used to learn from someone, I had only one problem. Okay, Neha is a trainer. She taught me for 3 days. Now, after 4 months, I am executing and I have a problem. How do I ask Neha now? Because I have a fear if I go ask question again, she will ask for more money. Right? Okay. Now, okay, theek hai, wo group training hoga. Now you come as a personal coaching client to me and, pay me more. So I said, okay, let's create groups of every participant that I have been through. And I will never charge any other piece of money from them if they have a questions 4 years, 6 years after the coaching also. And that's their wish, whether they want to stay with me for that long or not. That's perfectly on them. So 2021, after 3 years of pandemic, I traveled Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad. I just called everybody from LinkedIn. Okay, jisko milna hai, aa jao. I am there. Every table was full. I'm like, this is crazy. Right? And it was after 3 years of pandemic. So ghar baithe, all we did was creating content, making more groups, segregating them and, testing them into different domains. So कभी सिर्फ स्टूडेंट्स के लिए अलग ग्रुप बनाया, कभी स्टूडेंट्स और फ्रीलांसर्स को मिक्स किया, ये लोग आपस में कुछ सीखते हैं कि नहीं, कभी इन्वेस्टर्स और फ्रीलांसर्स को मिक्स किया, राइट? ओके, बिलीव मी, दैट वाज द मोस्ट पैथेटिक एक्सपेरिमेंट. Because freelancers went ahead, okay, personal branding खरीद लो, investors got pissed off completely, right? So did a lot of experiments, finally cracked कि okay, freelancers को अलग रखो, students को अलग रखो, entrepreneurs and investors को साथ में रखो, they are the best people to deal with each other, and you can keep exchanging group opportunities when they come. So now we have around 10,000 people in the community. We are a completely non-paid community, different groups. And we recently started a secret group called Super Girls, only for women leaders. So that is actually creating a lot of work inside it. वो बहुत amazing चल रहा है. Like I have my complete focus on that from past 2 months. So this has been a journey of building things. In between, the marketing happened to me actually. In between marketing, growth hacking, all this happened to me in the process. So go side में चलता रहता है.
Exciting journey, and I think if you keep entrepreneurs and investors in one group, you're going to be blessed. You're going to be in the prayers of all the entrepreneurs out there. So that's something good karma that you're accumulating there. Nipun, what about you? How did community happen to you? What was your early days like?
I think honestly, I've been like, of course nobody knew what community building is, but I've been like a gatherer of people, from like my childhood. I just loved that. To like, I remember normally people would have like 3-4 friends who they play with, but like I opened my house for like anyone in my neighborhood, that whoever wants to come will play board games. So I had like a lot of friends when I was growing up, and I think that trend continued in college, and but like more formally, I think very interestingly, when I started Curify, we were not thinking about we're building a community or something. The only problem we were thinking to solve was how do we bring doctors online, and we did a lot of research, and it just happened that doctors were very comfortable sort of talking to each other on WhatsApp groups, right? Whereas when they used to speak to, let's say, patients, they were very, very different people. So like we were not knowing we were like building a community of doctors, but we knew that if we can give like an exclusive environment to doctors online on this platform, they will feel much more comfortable talking to each other. That was the only assumption when we started building Curify. And when we got them online, we narrowed down, if people are coming, doctors are coming online, what is it that they want to chat about? It came up that case discussion was something that they really found a lot of value in. So it just happened like until we sort of like I exited Curify, I didn't like even think of community as a term there. Like we were building a social network, we had a content team, a moderation team. Like we didn't have a community team, right? But it just happened that we built a community. Like by the time I think we realized that it is the largest community of Indian doctors. By the time we realized it is a community, it had already become like the largest community of Indian doctors. So I think, of course, very early on, we picked up these signals that, like I said, doctors are much more comfortable talking to each other. They were already discussing cases on WhatsApp groups. They were very, very close and free when they were traveling to medical conferences, right? So like these small behavior, I think we sort of somehow picked a profession where people were more community centric, right? So it just happened that way. And when I sort of exited Curify after selling it to a US healthcare enterprise, I was sort of deciding what to do next. And by that time, I had sort of, it's very crazy that, by education, I'm an engineer and both my partners were engineers. So we knew nothing about medical, right? But still we were able to aggregate this community and create this beautiful sort of network where every day 500 human lives were being discussed, on the platform and potentially saved. So I was just in love with the fact that something like this can happen when you can bring people online together, and offline. I was always like very, very up for it. So yeah, so that's when I decided karna to isi mein, like I definitely want to do something. And I realized some of the challenges in hindsight that I had faced while building the community platform, and realized if one factor that worked for us while building Curify was we were lucky enough that we had sort of privileged background to raise enough capital and invest that money, coming from IIT, we were able to do that. but it's not possible for everyone who is passionate about building a community to be able to invest so much in a technology platform and build that by themselves. So I realized, can I sort of build something which is at a meta level and where we can literally enable 1 million communities. If I could do that, maybe 1 million communities will be enough, as long as they are meaningful for the whole world to at least find one community where they feel belong to. So that's been sort of my journey around community building. And today, I think I just sleep, drink community the whole day. Like, I talk to a lot of community builders every week, one-on-one and via groups. And I just love, how this industry is evolving. We've seen a lot of progress in last 2-3 years, especially during COVID. And I can say for sure that today, how product managers have grown in last 5 to 10 years, the next 5 to 10 years are for community managers.
Yes.
For sure. I think, as you all mentioned, right, that community sort of just got in your way, and as Sourabh mentioned, that it's been there since forever. I think the word community has just picked up in the last couple of years for the things that we have already been doing, right? So now all sizes of companies are use community as a way to build a competitive advantage. I think without community, the growth gets hampered, and with that realization by organizations, naturally there was this high demand of community professionals in the ecosystem, in the organizations, and how important do you think was this change for people to realize that they need, community professionals to do these things? How important was this change in perspective in the ecosystem, according to you? How, were you seeing, that it's going to be the next big thing, or, what brought that change in the ecosystem?
So I think ये जो term है ना, community builder, इसमें ना आप जैसे like Nipun is saying, we talk to thousands of people every day, and people from my community also. Saurabh, how are you doing all your work and still be active in most of the WhatsApp groups all the day, taking everybody's questions, answering them, replying to them? So people, if you are not able to do it themselves, it's a very draining work. They can get drained. Okay, so until unless you are a very person who's who can just go on, like Nipun said, okay, I'll open my house for everybody, just come and play, right? So he's not jealous, he's not finding anything for himself, saying you have fun, okay, I'll do what I do, correct? So that's where I think this breed of community builders came in, who are happy talking to people, right? When I talk about, let's say, Headstart, a community that is sustaining for 15 years only on volunteers, right? Not getting paid for whatever they do, so much hard work, right? And I was talking to Vashisht, I'm like, how the hell somebody has created this entire structure? Because I'm not being able to create the structure as of now in 3 years, right? Still trying to, right? Because we are selfish people at the core. हमको कुछ चाहिए अपने लिए, right? मैं ये दे रहा हूँ, मुझे क्या मिलेगा? हमें ROI चाहिए हमेशा, right? So I think community builders are the most selfless people. Like अलग domain के लोग हैं, जहाँ पे वो अपने लिए सबसे बाद में सोचते हैं. So there is a specific need where you need someone who can just connect with humanity, at a very deeper level, more than just work and being a use case of a product or a business or anything else, where they can think of the problem and a solution together. So वहाँ पे एक differentiated need बहुत जरूरी है.
Yeah, and I think, Nipun, you were trying to say something. I'll come later.
Sure. So I was just saying, if I got the question correct, I think the question was what happened, like why suddenly everyone is now wanting to sort of get community managers. I think one of the biggest things that happened was the rise of online communities because of COVID. Yeah. I think before COVID, like in fact, we did this, state of community management in India report, right? So one of the statistics, and we did it last year. So one of the statistics was nearly 2/3 of the communities, or the 2/3 of the community builders had started building communities in last 3 years. So like that sort of was very, very clear that it is a new thing, and the rise of online communities only happened, one, because of COVID. Second, again because of COVID, a lot of these tools started coming up, and uh, essentially, like community has some of the very common traits, right? You need to gather people around, let's say, topics, around events, and so far before COVID, most of the people were thinking about gathering people around offline events. Like that was the default use case. So nobody was a community manager. People were event organizers before that. Very, very few platform. I think Curify, I remember, I would not even like find enough peers to talk about building online communities. But because of COVID, I think that change has happened, and now people are used to attend online events like these. Again, social media has been a big factor. There has been a huge wave of verticalization of SaaS, verticalization of social media, and people are getting sort of very, very focused on getting into sort of very focused communities, or you can say networks, where they can find value and find relevant topics. And that has also been a behavior that has sort of zoomed in or significantly improved after COVID. So I think in one word, the reason is COVID.
And I'd like to kind of quote from the CMX's community industry report. Okay, some numbers in there for you. I'm a bit of a data person. I would not say I'm yet there, but I definitely love data. And community management is moving from a growth to a mature industry. Maybe true for our demographic, may not be. I think we're still growing. We're in a growth stage. But 22% of companies report that they have a dedicated community department, which was up from 15% last year. And community roles are becoming even more specialized, right? With 35% of teams having at least one person focused full time on community operations. And why is this happening, right? I think Saurabh touched upon a couple of reasons, and Nipun has touched upon a couple of reasons. I think another reason why this is happening is because the community ecosystem has kind of come together very strongly. And I'm really sorry, I have a bad throat. And they've been talking about why community and the value of community and why community led, right? So that is number one. That is number three, I guess. The third reason why I think there suddenly you see a lot of people talking about community, right? Thanks to this entire ecosystem, all of us are included in that. People like Nipun, who's kind of bringing the ecosystem in India together. CMX, I host the CMX India chapter. We're talking a lot about that, and a bunch of others in the country and globally. So thanks to that, and I think kudos to each of us. That is another reason. But I think over a period of time, I am somebody who's very business focused, right? And I think I'm always thinking about what is the ROI that we're driving for businesses. In the end of the day, all of us want to make money, right? I mean, Nipun, the product that you're putting together, in the end of the day, you want to kind of derive some value out of investing your time. Or sort of, I don't know what your plans are. Eventually you may want to kind of monetize the community, right? But I think even for brands, for them to realize that it is so important to talk to their customers, right? And to drive their business by taking the community way is imperative and is something that they cannot ignore. And I can get into several examples, like out of my experience and what I have observed over a period of time. But I think community is the way to go. There is no two ways about it. I think it's better that the companies understand that much sooner, and I think they'd be able to reap the benefits of building community. So I think, yes, all of these reasons put together, I think people realized, and people have seen benefits, strong business outcomes of building communities.
I think these case studies really help, right? Like when I pitch to our sort of potential clients, like most of the times I'm sort of selling the value of community to them, right? And the biggest ask from them is, do you have case studies in a sector like ours? And I think over time, these case studies are sort of now developing, and it really helps to create the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Nipun, now that you've spoken about what you're doing with LikeMinds and what you're trying to achieve there, maybe I'll shoot a question to you. You built LikeMinds to provide a customized platform to community builder for their community. So, how important a role does a platform play when you're building a community? Is it according to you a necessity, or a good to have luxury sort of a thing? What is your take on that?
Sure. See, the way I look at it, when you're building a platform, it's like you're building a city, right? In the offline analogy, or a world, whatever, right? And you may want to use someone else's city and build value in that and do business in that. But when you're already building a platform, let's say if you're already running an app, you've already decided that there is an asset where people will come, people will spend their time, do ABCD activities, find certain values, and based on that, I will extract certain value for my business from them, right? But when you build community, in that platform, it literally opens up an ability for you to design experiences for your users to do things, which can add value to each other, right? And over time, I think most brands have started realizing it, that there is a definitive value by opening up a channel between members. Some of the very common use cases that we've seen is knowledge exchange, being, I think, number one, peer-to-peer accountability, networking. Some of these use cases are very common now. The thing about doing it in a custom platform is that you can control the experience. Now, how important is it for you to control the experience, and how important is it for you to have that experience in your platform versus, let's say, a third-party platform where you have to redirect your users? I think one of the biggest challenge that we see, especially in mobile-first countries, is that people don't find enough engagement on web-first platforms, right? So it has to be an app, and if you're already building an app, you have two choices. Either you sort of get your community built on, let's say, a WhatsApp or a Telegram, because Slack and Discord are great, but they are like web-first tools. Or you find a way to design certain experiences in your own app. So we recommend, especially in certain industries where some of these use cases of knowledge exchange, accountability, networking makes more sense, like edtech, fintech, health tech, mobile first SaaS companies. So in these sectors, there is a clear value in engaging your members and making these member-to-member interactions. So that's what I feel is a reason why people choose to go with us in building their own platforms on top of our stack.
I think you brought a very important point, community experience. With so many communities now, I think there are some good communities, but there are some, really inactive or random communities also available. So community experience becomes your competitive advantage there, and exactly. That's something you definitely want to control. So yes, that's.
And like, think of Headstart, right? We've been talking about, I think Gautam and I spoke like almost 2-3 years back, and I think you guys are still figuring out where can we find that best place for your members to hang out with each other, right, online.
Yes, I think we've tried a couple of them. Hopefully we'll land on one soon. But yeah, it's a big community to, have in one place. Thanks, Nipun, for bringing those points. I'll, probably shoot a question to Neha now, who's been building communities for different organizations, be it Quora, Baby Chakra, and I want to understand how different or similar is building communities for different organizations, who are so different in nature. Are you going with the same strategy there, or things completely change for a community builder? What's your take on building communities for different organizations? What's the strategy there?
Yeah, when we say we're building communities for different organizations, then your strategy has to be differentiated, right? And that's the one very exciting aspect about community building is that you can actually work with organizations of who have a different objective, a very different objective, who are working at a very different scale from each other. And kind of solving for a very unique or a different problem for the community, right? So I think that's the beauty of community building. You don't need to kind of get stuck in the same industry, right? And you can kind of experiment with various industries. And I think organizations are very open about doing that as well. People want varied skills, varied experiences to kind of people to kind of come together and build community. But I think it all boils down to understanding deeply the vision and the mission of the company, and exactly what is the problem that they're trying to solve for the community. Now back in Baby Chakra, it was a community of young Indian parents. So as you can imagine, if you break down young Indian parents into personas, they are people who try to kind of have a baby, or are in that bracket of people who want to have a baby or aspire to have a baby, and they have a very different set of problems that they have, or a bunch of questions that they have, and how do they kind of go about doing that to young Indian mothers, right, who've just had their first baby, and just imagine the kind of problem, the opportunity that you have to kind of solve for that particular persona, to a mother who's a toddler mother, right, to a parent who is who has a toddler. So I think that's the beauty of community building, right? Like you get to kind of build for such varied personas, and the way that we were approaching community building, while obviously the realms remain the same, right, the principles remain the same, but I think you obviously are you're changing your strategy and fine-tuning your strategy as per the needs of the company. What outcomes are they trying to kind of really drive, right? Say for example, let's say Quora, right? Quora's vision is to share and grow the world's knowledge, right? And if you could have just hear that, you would you'd be like, oh my god, what are we going to do there, right? And what is it that I can do over there? And I think the way that we are building community at scale at Quora is so different from the way that I built it out at Baby Chakra. The day-to-days and the what really matters, and for example, we used to talk a lot about DAUs and MAUs, and how is it that we're kind of really personalizing for every persona. How are we activating every persona on a day-to-day basis, and then how we kind of broke it down into our weekly and daily workflows, to working at Quora, where we're kind of really building interest-based communities where people have deep passion for language, and people are kind of coming from all over the world, and what is it that we really care about over here, right? So the day-to-day work kind of looks very different. Our strategy obviously looks quite different, although obviously the principles remain the same, right? So you have to kind of obviously focus on the business objective. What is it that you're solving for, and then from there start building your strategy for the community that you're building.
I think
does that answer your question?
Yes, I think things never get monotonous if you're a community.
Oh my god, never.
You are in for a ride every single day. So
never a dull day. And I think what really drives you as a community builder is when while you can obviously do massive ass projects and kind of really save costs for the company, or drive customer retention, user retention, or you could build advocates for your organization, who are helping kind of thousands of people to come and join the community and use the product, if you will. But ultimately, the satisfaction that we derive and I derive as a community builder is when somebody comes and tells me that I have really helped them achieve their goal and their objective of why they came to this community, and that is where I derive my satisfaction from, and that's what is achievement for me, right? Be it a mother who was perhaps was struggling with breastfeeding, and she was going through postpartum depression, and how we could have really helped her through that journey, to a person who is who has so much of knowledge, and there's nobody there's no platform for him or her to kind of come and share the knowledge and the expertise that he or she has. And they've become like celebrated on the platform, and they now get invited for TED talks outside of the platform. Is the sense of identity that we're giving them as community builders is what drives us.
I think, yeah, it's definitely fulfilling, and all of us community builders can resonate with that. One last question to Saurabh. Before we, move to the coffee with Karan sort of a segment next. Saurabh, so question to you. You started your career as a sales and growth hacker, publishing books in growth hacking and building brands and engaging with influencers. So at what time did you realize that, community was essential for your work and for your personal brand?
I think community was a core because, as I said, we live in a community all the time. So like from the very childhood, there was the Agarwal Samaj. We are doing kitty parties there every month. So this is something we have seen all the way long. Using it for the business or personal branding or career is something that we shifted all the long. So I started my community as a support system to my participants, because I know that whatever we learn, we cannot execute on a same day. And we can retain only maybe 3% of it after 48 hours, right? So if I have to really learn and implement that, I need consistent support and reiteration. And that's where we started creating community. Even a book, so I'm not a solo author. We had 25 plus marketeers from 100 marketeers from 25 countries coming together and writing a book. So it became a Bible of growth hacking and marketing across, right? And together we own a world record, right? So it is not me who alone could do it, right? Okay, we missed our USA Today bestseller and New York Times bestseller. And now we are planning even a bigger project together again, right? So we might be seen on Netflix very soon or something like that, right? In terms of sharing the knowledge of growth hacking, because, somebody created social dilemma, told all the negative sides about social media, right? Okay. But we are born on internet. We have created our careers on internet. There's a positive side too, right? And it is going to be next 15 years, because today I am a bridge between people who are in 20s and who are in 50s and 60s in my community. We have all sort of people, all age groups. That's why I said Goalchy Club is for all age groups. Come together, learn from each other, right? And I was hearing Aman Gupta saying, the marketing team had a very different language. He's coming from a CA background. The marketing team is talking about Friday rather than Friday, right? Okay. So, accepting that simple spelling change is not easy for someone, right? And I think that's a communication change that we're exchanging in our communities every day. So community is, when we say community led, it means that founder is not required somewhere, right? The content should be led by community. The question should be led by community. The answer should be given by community. The problem should be shared by the community itself. And entire content should be built around community, right? So now we will be starting a series of stories from our own community members who have grown over the past 2-3 years. Because we are sharing a lot of stories of billion-dollar startups or fundraising and everything. What about somebody who's a CA and then, came into a mother care business? How did she make the transition happen, right? And there are a lot of females who are into age of like 38 to 42 who after a child break, they are coming back to work, and what kind of challenges they are facing and growing now. So we are bringing those stories back. So these will be community-based stories. I don't want big stories. I want small, little bit growth stories, right? That also inspires a lot of people at the same stage that time. So I think that's where I feel the need of community today. Like, I cannot live alone, right? Personally, right? So if during a weekend I'm not out meeting somebody, I feel like incomplete, right? So I'm not that guy who will watch movie or just hang around a shopping mall. I will go party with strangers, right? Some strangers from internet we know will come and meet together, right? Okay, that's our party. And we love that. So as soon as the pandemic was over and we were like, हमें fully छूट मिल गई थी दोबारा से. So like, okay, every weekend we meet at least 10, 15 people. We do a small party, and that makes a lot of things happen. Believe me, that candid conversation, no agenda, nothing. Maximum business happens there.
I think I fully agree. At Headstart, we started hosting these no agenda meetups in cities, and we have met so many of our volunteers in these meetups. We've met so many people who keep coming back to our meetups in no agenda meetups. I mean, I think earlier, if that was I was invited to a no agenda meetup, I would be really skeptical if I should put my time there. But now, as you said, things happen in these no agenda meetups, in these candid conversations. And thanks a lot for these insightful pointers that community builders can take back with them. With that, we'll move to our next segment. But before that, thanks for taking up the questions on the chat. I think Nipun has been Nipun, Neha have been voluntarily doing this for the community builders out there. All right, thank you. We'll start with our next segment. Pretty excited, and for that I think you would have to stop answering the questions for the next 5 to 10 minutes. I'll shoot a question, and then probably we could go alphabetically. Neha, Nipun, and Sourabh. You all can answer. Let's keep it as small as we can, since it's a rapid fire round. So first question for all of you guys. One book that is a must read if you're a community professional, and let's go beyond David Spinks. I think that's the Bible. That's the Bible we all refer to. Let's go beyond that. I'm sure Business of Belonging was the first one that came up to your mind. But what other than that?
Sure,
this is
I can.
Comes to my mind. The Journey of a Hero. It is the biography It's a biography of Hero Cycles owner O.P. Munjal.
Okay.
So I think he's the guy who created the biggest distribution network of Hero Cycles, and people have his photo as God in their homes. Distributors, right? So the level of see, आप किस level पे जाके लोगों से बात करते हो या relationship बनाते हो, that's this book. And I think community is all about relationships. So this book is authored by Priya Kumar. Well read book. Like, this book is amazing in terms of, I will not say anything about, see, community में मुझे वही लगता है हमेशा ना, it's about relationship only. बाकी सब आप समझ जाओगे बाद में. Strategies हैं, tools हैं, everything is there, but relationship is the first thing. So this book I would recommend for sure.
Great. I think that's a good recommendation. Neha, do you want to go next?
Sure, I actually have not one, I have a bunch of them to recommend. So, obviously I do have the Business of Belonging. I won't talk about it. I think everybody knows it well enough. And, I obviously love CMX. It's my first love when it comes to community building. I learned my ropes of community building with that community and with the resources that it offered at that time. And I can't be more thankful to it. So I am always a champion for that book. But a couple of other books that I want to kind of recommend is this book called Digital Body. wait a minute. Digital body language. Sorry, I'll just remove my background. I really want you guys to see. So this is Digital Body Language by Erica Dhawan. I think a bunch of us are building online communities, and I think it's a great book to kind of understand. Obviously, in person and digital is so different, and I think it will be a good book to kind of to read if you were to understand how to kind of understand digital personas. Then there's this book called Attention Factory. Okay, it is pretty much a book on as a case study on TikTok and China's ByteDance. It came highly recommended by Adam, who's the founder of our company. And again, I think there are very less books out there that are case studies of organizations themselves. And it is one of the book. If this could be your vacation read, it's a small one, but it's a very interesting book. Another one that I recommend is Onboarding Matters by Donna Weber. Again, she's focusing specifically on how to build your models for community onboarding. And I have to mention Richard Millington. I absolutely love the work that Richard does. He has, a book called Buzzing Communities, which is specifically around, how to kind of build a bigger, better, and active online community and thriving online communities. That's also a good book to kind of read. I have several other recommendations, but yeah, I'll stop.
Neha has recommended a library of books, but definitely helpful. Nipun, do you want to go next?
Honestly, I've just read 2 books ever on community building, so I'll just call them both. Both of them were amazing. Of course, the first one is the Bible, which is the business of belonging. Guys, doesn't matter if we tell you 10 other names, but blindly you can at least read that book. It goes into such depth of community operations. It gives you strategies. So I don't know about the other books, but I'm 100% sure it is worth your time to read it.
Agree, and I think just establishing the business value of building community.
Exactly.
I think all of us should be thinking about that, right?
So start with that. If you want to read something, unless you want it to be very leisurely, definitely read that, almost like a textbook. If you are starting in this,
it should be like at your desk. When you're kind of faced with some issue, you kind of just turn around the pages.
I'm about to say that,
notes, and a lot of times I just go back and read it out.
Needs to be read like a textbook for sure.
Right, and then the other book that I've read is this book called Get Together. This is even like before I started LikeMinds, I was reading, and again, like it comes from that fact that I love getting people together. It literally talks about the formula of building a community, gives you like a lot more clarity on how to position your community, how to talk about your community online. And then honestly, I've not read any other book, so I cannot recommend, but what I can recommend is there are very interesting blogs and content written by some of these amazing folks at CMX, at ComSor, which is running community club, Vanilla Forums, of course Richard Millington, who runs Favor-Bee. So all these organizations do create a lot of content, courses, blogs. So in today's world, books is just one way to learn, and probably one of the slower ways to learn. So do check out these blogs. We also have certain content on our website. We have built like very basic course around community building. Our focus has always been around simpler things for Indian audience. So, you could always check them out.
Yeah. Get Together is another book that I've heard so many times. I haven't read it, but I think it comes extremely highly recommended. I think I might have a copy. I have not started reading
That
it.
could be our next read.
Neha can start a community-focused book club for sure.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. That's a good idea.
All right. So next question is, have you ever been in love with a community? A community that you have loved being a part of? what would that be?
I have my own community.
I was going to say, all of us will have a bias towards.
And Vashishtacharya spoke so much about Headstart that I'm now like, he will make me fall in love with it very soon, I think.
I'd like to kind of talk about this one community. And I think there are a bunch of, these groups, and I think they're really trying to solve for, particular problem, or just getting people together because they have interest in something. May not necessarily be monetizing right now, but let's say Facebook groups, right? And I have seen some really amazing Facebook groups that are building, interest-based communities like Gurgaon Foodie. Oh my God, what a group! Or I would obviously talk about a lot of Indian parenting groups because I have built those communities. But there are some extremely high value communities that people are building in that domain as well. Just apart from that, I think, Asha Chaudhary, who's the OG for community in India, she is building silently. She's very silently, by the way, building her community, which is Kids Book Cafe. And I think, again, a very engaging community. You can pretty much learn how to engage your community and how to grow your community pretty much organically from Asha. Or say, for example, product-based communities like, say, Notion. Notion is doing a really good job. Or say, Canva is doing a really good job around building communities, and then several other interest-based communities that are out there. But I don't have one single favorite. With some recommendations there.
Nipun, do you have anything to
I
add?
think my favorite is a small WhatsApp group which is so it's called IIT Delhi Entrepreneurs in NCR. So it is so niche, and honestly, I see everyone just helping each other out. There is a literal feeling of belonging in that, even though we may not be active in that like every day, but if I can help anyone there, I will help him. So that kind of DNA I have not seen very commonly in all the communities that I've been part of. And one community that I'm not very actively part of, but I love the work they're doing, is the product folks. The amount of it's like one of those communities which has started from India and has now done phenomenally well global. So if I was to take inspiration, I take a lot of inspiration from them.
Yeah,
And I think my product manager reaches out to the community for a lot of queries, and more often than not, he's able to find an answer.
Yeah, but I think the key point that you make, Nipun, is so relevant here, and to take note of is they're helping each other, they're uplifting each other, they're solving for each other's problem, and they take ownership of that, and they take pride in helping each other is the ultimate litmus test of a community, and exactly what Saurabh was saying in the beginning, right? Help each other and support each other.
I think that's
where everybody falls in love, because today getting a support from someone selflessly, maybe sitting 3,000 kilometers away, is not easy, right? And when you get that so easily, like today somebody in our group asked that, okay, I'm a solo entrepreneur right now, want to looking for a co-founder, a partner into sustainable textiles, and there were 10 messages, okay, I'm open to this.
Yeah.
Right. And somebody has built half of the part, another half somebody else has built. Now both are in Delhi. Now they're meeting in a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
They may become co-founders tomorrow. Right?
Yeah,
That's so amazing.
exactly. Yeah, and say, for example, even at Quora, right? I mean, there's a lot of progress that we need to make. There's a lot of improvements that we need to make as a product, right? We realize that, we recognize the feedback. But I think what keeps people coming back to the platform is exactly the relationships that they're building, right? Like they will, address each other by Bua, Masi, Chacha, right? And they have never met each other, but ask them and they know everything about that person. They know every single thing about that person. They're supporting each other. They are cheering for each other. They're each other's cheerleaders. helping them improve as a writer, helping them to kind of really express what they have and bring out their expertise. I think that is the power of community. Business, yes, bilkul, but
And I
this
think
is
that's
the
what also determines the success of your community. If you're able to help people, if people are able to get help out of your community, it's automatically a success, right? All right.
And we should definitely not forget Headstart, right?
I would
Oh,
convince
yes.
that. I think I have been, witnessing that from the front seat and seeing people help each other. And we meet annually, like once a year, and it feels like we've been a part of the family since forever. That's how much we know each other just by interacting online and just by it's like a family at Headstart. That's for sure, and that's a gift by Headstart for sure for us.
I remember when I started up, this was like 2012 when I like started experimenting, and I attended one of the Headstart events. Like this is 10 years back, and like that event was volunteer led, and I was just thinking, who is managing this, right? And this is like 10 years back. So kudos to you guys. Like you've been doing it for so long, and like volunteer led is a huge thing.
I think all because of the support of the startup ecosystem, people like you for sure. All right, so I think we'll wrap up with one last question. I had a bunch of them, but I think community builders are always chatty, and you are if you are in a community focus,
We should get a stopwatch.
and yes, and actually make it a rapid fire. So, all right, I think we'll end it with, maybe one advice you've ever gotten or heard from a community guru that you follow or follow closely. Do you have any such advice that we can take back from this session?
I think I don't know if this is like a advice from a guru, but this is one of the biggest learning I've had while building communities. Focus on first 100 members, like build like literally them your brothers and friends and sisters. If you're able to build 100 meaningful relationships very early on in your community building journey, I think they will become your volunteers or helpers or whatever, and I've personally seen that happening with us at Community Hood as well. Today, like Vineet is one of the biggest champion, Madhurima and some of these guys have been just selflessly coming and helping us in our events just because we were able to build that relationship with them.
I think that they automatically become the ambassador of your brand. Anything from you, Neha, Saurabh?
Yes. So, one advice that my mentor gave me all the time was that, Neha, people come in all shapes and sizes, right? And, because I continue to kind of build very unique communities, and, people from all over the country are coming together. And I think you as a community builder get so emotionally invested in what you're building. I think this reminder always helped me keep my sanity at bay, right? And to remain sane, right? And to kind of really keep my self separate from the value that I was trying to kind of bring to the table. And I think it's all right, like you will have all sorts of people that you will come across, but in the end of the day, it's not about you, right? So that's the best advice that I have always kept with me.
And I think that's a very important thing that you've brought up, the sanity of a community manager, because things can definitely get really insane in no time, and it's always best to keep that separate.
I can do a separate session on that, trust me.
I'm sure. I think, yeah. All right, Saurabh.
Yeah, I think what Neha said is same learning I also have derived and learned from my mentors during sales, that nobody's same. But as a leader you have to learn how do you work with Aarzoo, she is different. How do you work with Neha, she is different, right? I'm 32. How do I work with someone who's 74 in my community? and how do I deal with someone who's 18 in my community, right? And most of the big mega size events that we do, they are volunteer led, right? So last time we, like 3 weeks back, we had a India e-commerce show. There were 25 students from Delhi University. I got this question so many times. How are you getting these students work for you? Right? They are not paid. How are they working? They have never met you, right? So on the event, they met them for the very first time.
Wow.
Okay. And then I sent the same student to the Your Story event also, and they were having fun. So I said, you know what? You need not make them work. Just leave them. They do what they do, and be happy about it first, right? And I think within the conversation, you should learn who can do something for you. Like Nipun said, once you have built the relationship, you will know that, wherein you have invested enough to ask a little. Although it's a thankless job, you can't ask back, okay, मैंने तुझे दिया है, तू मुझे वापस दे. But the relationship will tell you when you can go and ask, okay, Aarzoo, can you do something for the community? And Aarzoo will be happily doing it because she got benefited and she want to pass on the benefit. So there was a time when I said, my mentor, I want to pay you back. He was like, sorry, you can't pay me back. You just paid forward.
Sure. I think that's a principle we also follow, the paid forward culture. I think, and that's what community is all about. It's never pay me back. It's always, paid forward, and that's how this industry is growing every day. So some great advice, some great insights from this session, and I cannot thank you guys enough. I think having this discussion with you guys has definitely enriched my my knowledge about community, and I'm sure all of the other attendees who joined felt the same. And I can't wait to have you guys back in our course as mentors, as speakers, and I'm sure we'll be doing this more often than ever now. I've also heard this, that community is a bug. Once it bites you, once you are once you're interacting freely with people and community builders, there's no going back. So definitely that's going to be the case with us as well. And with that, I bring you guys the surprise of the session, Gautam.
No, Aarzoo, thank you so much for ending it with the word bug, because post-COVID, the word bug, this is something we always say, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a positive emotion or negative emotion, as long as you evoke an emotion with your content at times, right? And honestly, the last 60 to 70 minutes have been so amazing. Wanted to thank Neha, Nipun, and Sourabh. I thoroughly enjoyed my last 70 minutes with you guys. I've been making notes, left, right, and center. What one-liners, recommendations, in fact, this is something that I was just texting Aarzoo saying, if this is how awesome it is bringing, community folks together, we should keep doing this on and on and on and on, right? So something that, I would love to definitely look forward to is meeting you all in person at the HSX Summit. It's our annual summit happening on 15th October. Nothing like meeting fellow community folks in person. Of course, a lot of the community managers who will be going through the course will all be in person, waiting to meet their mentors and community leaders like Sourabh, Neha, and Nipun. 15th October, we celebrate 15 years of Headstart, and we're doing the HSX Summit, where we bring together folks from across all our chapters across India. So thank you so much once again, Neha, Nipun, and Sourabh. For me, community is at my heart. It's one of the most passionate things. Of course, working at a VC firm, while being a community person at heart, 24/7 startup ecosystem for me. Truly enjoyed and truly grateful for what you guys have given us in the last 70 minutes. So thank you so much once again.
Thanks, Gautam. Always pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you for having us. And I'm so glad to know that we're the first panel to kind of kick off community-based discussions. Very honored. And so lovely to meet Sourabh and Nipun. Nipun as always, and Sourabh, hats off. got to meet you finally.
I'll get you in my Supergirls community now.
Oh yeah, sure.
They
Bring it
all
on.
will have a huge benefit from you. For sure, you can add a lot of value to those people in terms of building communities.
Sure.
So one thing I found mostly in female communities is they have a lot to share, but they don't share it. Right. So if there is someone who can help them, break that barrier, they'll grow exponentially very fast. And I think that's why I created a separate community so that they can
I feel safe.
they feel their space where there's no men, right?
Yeah.
I being the youngest one, they can take it like a younger brother and they can still talk everything. So I'm the only one there.
Time to hire a female community manager for that.
Exactly.
I guess.
Done. I'll try to steal someone from Headstart.
For sure. I think we have some amazing community builders. For sure, you
And,
can.
and you know what, sort of, you won't believe. So Headstart, if you ask Aarzoo, the team that's been running the show is a majority of women-led folks. And I think that's probably one of the best things that's happened to Headstart.
See, that's on the rise. Even all the city leaders are females, all of them.
I think it's more common to have. I remember Paras who used to, head communities, and he was telling me that, like, on an average, like 4 out of 5 community builders are women globally, not just in India.
See, they have a very natural quality of nurturing things. Like, बच्चे बड़े करने वाला जो काम है ना, वो females के पास natural है, वो हमारे पास नहीं आता इतनी जल्दी. That level of patience and understanding. It's a very patience-based game. So females के पास एक वो edge है इस community building profession में, I think.
I know.
90%
community is all.
Quora is women.
and Neha, community building is all about being empathetic, right?
Exactly.
And if you're not literally sunk in empathy, I think you can never become a community manager. Patience and empathy are 2 important virtues.
And anyways, community is like building a house, right? So women are already sort of trained for generations to manage houses better.
All right. I think if you haven't figured it out yet, I think this can go on and on for like hours together, but we'll save it for some other session maybe. Thank you so much, Nipun, Neha, Sourabh, and Gautam also for joining us. Some really great insights, and I look forward to meeting you guys in person hopefully soon, and for sure we'll keep in touch and keep bringing up such valuable sessions for the next generation of community leaders. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Wish you all the best.